बालाजी। स्पून चक्कर कలుపుకుంటే సరే. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Only 140 has come. We'll wait one more minute.
Okay, sir.
Okay, let us start the new chapter today. That is diseases of the anal canal. So anorectum has got an important function in the gastrointestinal tract, whereby these two things combinedly, they will store the unwanted material, and when the circumstances are convenient, they will discharge it from the body. So the rectum has got a storage function as well, and the anal canal has got the sphincteric function. So when the conditions are favorable, it will open up and empty the rectum. Otherwise, it will be in a contracted state to stop the passage of the fecal matter. So it is an efficient sphincter. It functions as an efficient sphincter. This is a highly evolved pinch control valve. One type of valve where it contracts and closes, getting the control over the fecal evacuation. When it is competent, anal canal is competent, no solid, no liquid, no gas leaks from it. So it is a very efficient valve. Mainly it has got two muscles. The circular muscle of the GI tract continues as internal sphincter, and you have got a striated muscle, a voluntary muscle surrounding this internal sphincter. External sphincter is voluntary, internal sphincter is involuntary. Both these things in combination will provide the efficient control mechanism. So with this picture, this wider part is the rectum, which is surrounded by the internal sphincter and external sphincter. So this is the internal sphincter, this is the external sphincter. So with this, coming to the brief description of the anatomy of the anal canal, it is lowermost length of GIT with continent mechanism. It extends from the anorectal junction above at the pelvic floor. So anorectal junction, that is division between the rectum and the anal canal, will be at the level of the pelvic floor. From that point to the anal verge externally, the anal canal extends. Two types are described, anatomical and surgical anal canal. Anatomical anal canal is the one that is described with anatomist in cadaveric dissection. It extends from the anal verge to the dentate line, which is lined by the stratified squamous epithelium, which is called as anoderm. Stratified squamous epithelium, which is similar to the or a little different from the normal surrounding skin, because it will not have the appendages, hair and glands will not be there. Surgical anal canal is a little more longer, almost double the size of the anal canal. It extends from the anal verge to the anorectal ring at the pelvic floor. Because combinedly, the surgical part and the anatomical part will help to provide the continent mechanism. So the part of the GIT, the lower end, which combinedly or collectively provides the continent mechanism, is called as the surgical anal canal. In the middle, you have got a separating line called as dentate line. The development will be different below the dentate line and above the dentate line. Functionally, they are one, single one. So this functional part of this is called as surgical anal canal, which is a little longer than the anatomical part. In this picture, you can see the depiction of these muscles, internal sphincter as a continuation of the circular muscle. The longitudinal muscle of the GI tract will divide into number of fibers and pass through the muscle to the mucosa and to the anal canal. It has got a binding function and voluntary external sphincter. This will have the voluntary control. Even though the internal sphincter relaxes by the rectal defecation reflexes, if the condition is not favorable, by strong contraction of this external sphincter, you can prevent the evacuation. You have got the control. So all these pictures will make clear the structure or the construction or the design of the anal canal, providing the very efficient control mechanism. The factors which help in the continent mechanism are, first one is the length of the anal canal, anorectal angle, the angle between the rectum and the anal canal, which will be more than 127 degrees. Anorectal ring, a conglomeration of all the muscles, all the pelvic muscles and the bowel muscles will fuse together as a strong band of muscle, providing the continent mechanism called as anorectal ring. This is the most powerful one. If the anorectal ring is torn, there is permanent incontinence. Nothing can be done. Then the sphincter muscles, internal as well as external muscles, and anal cushions and mucosal folds. The mucosa, submucosa also contribute to the continence by getting into folds which will close the lumen completely, preventing the leak of even the gas. Anatomy consists of the muscles, internal sphincter, external sphincter, longitudinal muscle, anorectal ring, mucosa, submucosa with anal cushions and columns of Marconi. The folds of the mucosa, which extends longitudinally into the rectum, are called as columns of Marconi. So this is a description of the internal sphincter, which is involuntary muscle. And this involuntary muscle has got the special nerve supply. Of course, they are innervated to the autonomic nervous system. They are under the influence of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves. But the more importantly, they respond to the local, intrinsic, non-adrenergic, non-cholinergic nerve fibers, which secrete the nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a powerful muscle relaxant. It will relax all the smooth muscles of the body. So this is called as, the molecule of the decade. Nitric oxide is called as the molecule of the decade. It will have various functions in the body. It is a strong relaxant of the smooth muscles of the body. In all the systems, cardiovascular system, gastrointestinal system, muscles, everywhere, this is strong relaxant of the smooth muscle. So this particular substance is secreted by the special fibers, non-adrenergic, non-cholinergic nerve fibers. Adrenergic belongs to the sympathetic system, cholinergic belongs to the parasympathetic system. So upon it will not secrete both these things. It will secrete a second substance, another substance, that is nitric oxide. The external sphincter, classically it is described to be having three parts: the deep part, superficial part, and the subcutaneous part. Though it is a single muscle, it has got three bunches intercommunicated. This is anatomical description, but functionally, all these three parts will function together. It is a voluntary muscle. This is supplied by the internal pudendal nerve from the sacral plexus. It will give the voluntary control of continence. A great man who has specialized in proctology, Golliger. Why the external sphincter has got three parts? What is its importance? So if you see this picture, the three parts of the external sphincter has got different orientations and different attachments. So the upper part is surrounding the anorectal junction, getting inserted into the pubic bone. It arises in the pubic bone, goes around the anorectal junction, again gets inserted into the pubic bone. The middle part, superficial part, surrounds the anal canal, upper anal canal, gets inserted into the coccyx. And the lower part surrounds and gets inserted into the perineal skin. So subcutaneous part of perineal skin. When the muscle contracts, so this part pulls anteriorly, this part pulls posteriorly, this part pulls anteriorly in different directions. So there will be complete efficient closure of the anal canal. Complete efficient closure of the anal canal because of the orientation of these three parts of the external sphincter. This is called as Schaffig's triple loop mechanism for the continence. Triple loop mechanism for the continence. The importance of the continence will become obvious when you see a person who has got incontinence to the feces. How he will be suffering, what amount of problem he will be facing, then only you can understand the importance of the continent mechanism. If you see a person with colostomy which has got no continence, so when he is traveling in a bus, the fecal matter comes out. So how cumbersome it will be for the person as well as the people surrounding. So that is the importance of the continent mechanism. Now the puborectalis sling. This is involuntary. This belongs to the anorectal ring, involuntary muscle. If you see here, this is constricting the anorectal ring. So when the pelvic muscles, perineal muscles relax during defecation, this loop relaxes and the anorectal ring, anorectal angle is abolished and they come in line. The rectal lumen, anal lumen will come in line, so they facilitate the defecation. They facilitate this defecation. This muscle, this lock, this is appear just like a lock which you will put for your bicycle. The spokes of the bicycle wheel, like that it will be present. This relaxes. So in Western type of toilets, the relaxation of this particular loop will be partial. In squatting position, this loop relaxes completely. That's why they say for defecatory purposes, the squatting position where the puborectalis sling relaxes completely is the ideal position for passing the stools. So this should be advised in people with constipation. Constipated people, you make them to adopt this position so they will be relieved of this constipation. And another last one is the longitudinal muscle. It is present in between the two sphincters, intersphincteric space between the internal sphincter and external sphincter. So this has got a special function. This divides into a number of fibers. Some fibers pass through the internal sphincter, gets attached to the mucosa, anal mucosa and skin. Some fibers pass through the lateral part, through the external sphincter and goes into the spherical fossa. Some of them, they get inserted into the skin, perianal skin. So it will bind all the mechanism, all the muscles which are providing the continent mechanism. So all the structures will be bound by these fibers of the longitudinal muscle. That is its function. Here you can clearly see all the parts of the anal canal. This is the mucosa. These are the columns of the Morgagni. This is the dentate line where you can see the mucosal folds, anal cusps, semilunar anal cusps. Below that is the anatomical anal canal. Again, this anatomical anal canal is divided by pectinate line into two. This is the true anoderm, belongs to the anal canal, which do not have the appendages of the skin. Below this is the normal skin. You can see the hair, you can see the skin glands, everything, etc. in this normal part of the skin. This is the internal sphincter, longitudinal muscle, external sphincter. Anorectal ring forms the suprasphincter, which is nothing but a conglomeration of all the muscles, all the surrounding muscles, perineal muscles, pelvic muscles, muscles belong to the bowel, everything will fuse together, forming a strong band, which is called as anorectal ring. When you do the digital rectal examination, if you turn your finger posteriorly and feel the anorectal ring, you can feel a strong shelf of muscle, that is the anorectal ring. That is the main sphincter providing the continent mechanism. If you damage this one, so the patient will go into permanent incontinence. He has to live on the colostomy only. Nothing can be done. Intersphincteric space, the space between the two sphincters which harbors the anal glands. Number of anal glands will be there. The duct of the anal gland will pierce the mucosa, muscle and the mucosa, and discharge the mucus into the anal canal for lubrication purpose. Lubrication purpose. Milligan and Morgan, the famous anorectal surgeon. Now we will discuss about this epithelium and the subepithelial structures. If you study the mucosa, it will be changing from when you come from above downwards. In the upper part of the anal canal, surgical part of the anal canal, it will be pinkish in color. It will be lined by the columnar epithelium and it will be thrown into longitudinal folds of Marcagni or columns of Marcagni. Below, it becomes cuboidal and red in color in the surgical canal and becomes plum colored in transition zone. When you come down below the dentate line, it fuses with at the dentate line, the mucosa fuses with the skin of the anal canal or the anoda. This fusion will be abrupt, it will be wavy and transition to the stratified squamous epithelium. The columnar epithelium of the rectal canal fuses with the stratified squamous epithelium of the anal canal. The junction is called as the dentate line. So this is the dentate line. Junction between the part belonging to the gastrointestinal tract, part belonging to the proctodeum. The lining of the anal canal is called as the anoderm. This is nothing but squamous epithelium lining the lower anal canal. It is thin and shiny. It has no epidermal appendages like hair and sweat glands. At the dentate line, it is firmly attached to the deeper structures. Anything, it is supplied with the somatic nerves. Any disease of the anoderm will be very painful, like fissures. This mucosa and submucosa above the dentate line is thrown into folds called as anal cushions. There are three primary anal cushions or primary folds called as anal cushions. They will help to maintain the continence mechanism. Why only three are there? These are based on the arterial supply, which we will discuss later. There are three in number as per the arterial branches. Receive only visceral afferent innervation. There is perception of stretching. Sensitivity to noxious stimulus is blunted. That means they have only with visceral nerve supply. They are not sensitive for cutting, etc. Only stretching will induce painful impulses in the involuntary muscles. So the hemorrhoids which are present in the internal hemorrhoids which belong to the mucosa, they are not painful. A fissure which is a ulcer in the anoderm, it will be very painful because of their location and difference in the nerve supply. These are the secondary foldings, rectal columns of Morgagni. The primary three folds major cushions will be there. Over the cushions, you will have the rectal columns of Morgagni. The caudal limit of these columns will have the epithelial transition zone. The lower ends of the columns of Morgagni are united by the cup-shaped anal valves or anal cusps. Into these anal cusps or valves, the anal glands will open and discharge the mucus. Anal valves of ball. The spaces are called as crypts of Morgagni, which are small pockets between the inferior extremities of the columns of Morgagni. So the anatomy and construction of this anal canal is important, though it is boring. It is important to understand the diseases of the anal canal. That's why I am going through this. This is very important landmark for the anal surgeons, the dentate line. It is an abrupt wavy transition to stratified squamous epithelium, which is the color of parchment. Parchment means wet skin, dried animal skin which is wetted. That is called as parchment. This is more important landmark both morphologically and surgically. This is the site of fusion of the proctodium and post-allantoic gut. Proctodium develops from below. It is a pit developing from the surface skin, which penetrates inside, and post-allantoic gut, which descends down from the gastrointestinal tract. Both these parts will fuse together, and a membrane will be there transiently. When the membrane ruptures, they canalize together. So the part of this membrane, remaining part of this membrane will appear as the dentate line or the anal valves. This dentate line is an important landmark. It separates the cuboidal epithelium above from the squamous epithelium below. It separates the autonomic nerves which are insensitive for cutting etc. from above from the spinal nerves which are very sensitive below. And above this dentate line, the venous drainage is into the portal system. Below it is into the systemic veins. It also forms one of the site of portosystemic anastomosis. These are the anal glands which are present in the intersphincteric space and in the muscle, and they open into the lumen or space of the anal crypts. The anal glands are very important. They secrete the mucus for lubrication of the fecal matter, and surgically, when they get infected, they are more common cause for the development of perianal abscess and the anorectal fistulas. Next, blood supply. The anal canal, rectum are supplied by the superior rectal artery, which divides into right branch and left branch. Right branch again divides into anterior and posterior. So three vessels will be supplying the rectum and the anal canal from above. Right anterior, right posterior, and left branch. Corresponding to this, you have got three anal cushions. Corresponding to three anal cushions, patient will develop 3 hemorrhoids at fixed positions. 3 o'clock, 11 left side, 7 o'clock right posterior, 11 o'clock right anterior. So 3 anal cushions will be there and primary hemorrhoids will develop at these 3 points. And below the dentate line, the remaining part of the canal is supplied by the middle rectal artery, inferior rectal artery, which come from the internal iliac artery. Middle rectal and inferior rectal, they are branches of the internal iliac artery. So you can see the middle rectal artery coming from the internal iliac artery. So internal iliac artery goes through the sciatic foramen. Again, out from outside it comes through the Alcock's canal. This is the Alcock's canal. Again, it supplies the lower part of the anal canal. Middle rectal will be in the pelvis. This inferior rectal comes from the goes through the sciatic foramen into the perineum, the buttock region. From there again it comes back. Venous drainage above the dentate line, it is to the portal system. Below the dentate line, it is to the systemic veins. Lymphatic system is also same. From the upper half, the lymphatic will drain to the para-aortic nodes above. From lower half, it drains to the superficial and deep inguinal lymph glands. To the inguinal canal, it will drain. In this picture, you can see how the lymphatics of the anal canal and perianal region, they drain to the inguinal lymph nodes. So a little thing about the defecation physiology. This is done by the defecation reflexes which are initiated in the rectum. Where the rectum distends, the main function of the smooth muscle is when you stretch the smooth muscle beyond a certain level, it initiates the contraction of the muscle. Action potentials will be generated and muscle goes into contraction. That is the principle of the smooth muscle. Anywhere, starting from the heart to the small bowel. Here also, when the fecal matter comes into the rectum and distends the rectum beyond a certain level, when the stretch is more, the muscle contracts and initiates the defecation reflexes. So rectum contracts. And if the facilities are there, the circumstances are convenient, then the higher centers will say the anal canal to relax. So the anal canal muscles, they will relax and open up so that the person can defecate. This defecation process, defecation reflexes are helped by the position of the person and contraction of the abdominal muscles. The contraction of the abdominal and pelvic muscle also helps to defecate. So with this background, we come to another important part of this chapter, that is examination of the anal canal. So in the surgical OPD, we get number of cases of anorectal diseases. One of the common complaints the patient comes with is from the anal canal and the rectum. So you must be thorough in examination of the anal canal. You must follow a systematic method in order not to miss anything. So careful examination is diagnostic in the vast majority of anal conditions. For this to do, you require a relaxed and informed patient. Patient will be cumbersome when you ask him to lie down for anal examination. You must explain the person what you are going to do and convince him, take consent, then only begin your examination. That is very important. And whenever you are examining a female patient, one chocolate on. by his side. When a male doctor is examining anal canal of a woman, another woman must be there by the side for your protection to avoid litigations. And there must be a private environment in a concealed space. You must do it, and there must be good light for visualization. You should have an examination coach of sufficient height, and a protective glove should be worn. Always wear gloves these days for both hands. Then begin your examination. How to keep the patients? In what position patient must be kept? This is a concealed area, so unless you keep the patient in a certain position, you will not be able to examine the anal canal. The common position what we adopt in our hospital is the left lateral position, also called as Sims position. On a table, patient lies down laterally left on the left side, turning to the left side. He must be lying obliquely on the table with the buttocks overlying the edge of the couch. A little projection of the buttocks beyond the edge of the table is more convenient. He should lie obliquely, and he should stretch this left leg, left lower limb straight, and he should flex the right lower limb onto the abdomen. This position exposes the perineal part, and it is easy to inspect or examine. In certain countries, certain places, people adopt the prone jackknife position or knee elbow positions in prone position, but this is very cumbersome to the patient and even so to the woman folk. So we do not adopt this position. We are happy with the Sims position only. So this is the left lateral Sims position. Patient is lying obliquely on the table with a pillow under the buttocks. The buttocks is just projecting beyond the edge of the table. The left limb is stretched, right limb is flexed. So this perineum is very much exposed for easy examination. This is the knee chest position, very cumbersome. We keep the patient in this position for perineal surgeries under anesthesia. When we are doing the anal canal surgeries or rectal surgeries, like sphincter repair, etc., or urologists while repairing this vesicovaginal fistulas, etc., for those rare cases, we keep the patient in this position, otherwise not. This is the lithotomy position, again chosen for during surgeries. During anal surgeries, we keep the patient in this lithotomy position. How to do this inspection? Though this part of the examination appears to be very easy, if you do not follow the method systematically, you are likely to miss the diagnosis. So be gentle and careful and nicely examine the patient. The buttocks are gently parted to allow inspection of the anus and perineum. Inspection is the first thing to do. Don't poke your finger directly. If there is a painful condition, again patient will not cooperate with you. First inspect for any skin lesions which are confined to the perineum or generalized. So perianal skin is also prone to develop generalized skin diseases like psoriasis, lichen planus, or infections, etc. So first look for them. Then look for conditions which are peculiar to the genital region, anal region. Once you rule out the generalized diseases, then come for the special diseases which you see in genital region, like warts, candidiasis, lichen sclerosus in old women, the vesicles of herpes simplex, etc. Then look for function of the anal canal, whether there is any evidence of anal leakage. If the patient is incontinent, fecal matter will be leaking out of the anal canal. That you can see on inspection. And see whether the anal canal is closed or patulous. Closed or patulous. If it appears to be patulous, ask the patient to strain or ask the patient to cough and see whether what happens. If the sphincter is incontinent, the anal opening will open up when the patient coughs or strains. And position of the anus and perineum at rest on bearing down, that means ask the patient to strain and see anything comes out of the anal canal. If there is a prolapse of the hemorrhoids or mucosa, it will come out when the patient strains. So look at the opening and ascertain whether it is continent or not, whether there is any leakage or not. If it appears normal, then ask the patient to strain and see whether what happens to the opening, whether it is open up or anything comes out like the prolapsed hemorrhoids or rectal mucosa. All these things you must inspect before putting your finger. When you separate the buttocks, if the patient feels pain, it indicates some acute condition is there, like fissure of the anal canal, which is very painful. Then the important thing is, next examination is digital examination, digital rectal examination. So inspection is followed by digital examination. Never go for digital examination in the beginning. You wear a glove and take some lubricant. After ruling out the painful conditions of the anal canal, then you will introduce your finger. So the method of introducing is also you must learn. You should not poke with your index finger. Keep the pulp of the terminal phalanx on the anal opening. Gently press it. As the muscle relaxes slowly, you will have the way to go inside. Then you will pass your finger inside. If you poke it roughly, the muscle will go into spasm. Patient will not cooperate. With the index finger of the soft tissues around the anus are palpated for induration, tenderness, and subcutaneous lesions. Then the lubricate index finger is then introduced gently into anal canal by the pulp of the finger. Keep the pulp of your finger first, gently press. Slowly, finger goes inside. At the apex of the anal canal, the sling of puborectalis muscle is felt posteriorly. More easily, it will be felt posteriorly. Once you pass your finger through the length of the anal canal, turn it and try to feel the muscle, strong muscle posteriorly. Once the finger is inside, don't be in a hurry to diagnose the diseases. First, acquaint your finger, get your finger acquainted with the normal structures which are felt in the anal canal. Identify the normal structure, acquainted with the topography of the anal canal. Then search for the pathology. So anteriorly, you try to identify the prostate gland in male person, which is normally present there. And in woman, try to feel the cervix of the uterus through the rectal wall. Cervix of the uterus through the rectal wall. So you have to identify these two landmarks. Otherwise, you may confuse them to be abnormal pathological masses. First, try to identify the prostate gland in men, cervix in woman. Anything other than these two will be abnormal. Presence of any distal, intrarectal, intraanal, or extraluminal mass is recorded. If you feel anything other than these two, try to ascertain the location of this mass, whether it is in the lumen, whether it is in the wall of the bowel, or outside the wall of the bowel. After examining this mass, then you to make something to record this strength of the sphincters. Ask the patient to squeeze, ask the patient to contract the sphincters and ascertain the tone of the sphincter muscles, whether they are normal or whether they are patulous and weak. Then remove your finger and examine the finger glove on the finger for any presence of any matter, fecal matter, or seropillant discharge or blood. Seropillant discharge or blood indicates some bleeding inside. Black colored blood indicates melena coming from above. Or normally you can see only fecal matter. So you must follow a certain method during palpation. If you find anything, first see intraluminally for fecal matter which is present normally, and any polyp or carcinoma, fungated carcinoma, polypoid carcinoma, or polyp of the rectal canal which will be present in the lumen. And then palpate the wall of the anal canal and rectum. Try to feel the sphincter muscles and anorectal muscle. And if there is any mass in the wall, there may be a carcinoma or leiomyoma will be present in the wall of the bowel or rectum or anal canal. When these two things are normal, palpate outside the anal canal and rectum for any perianal structures and abscesses. Squarectal abscess is there. It will form an indurated area outside the wall, or any pelvic abscess is there. It will bulge the anterior wall, or any pelvic masses are there, ovarian masses, malignant masses, etc. They can be found outside the wall. So with experience, you may be able to identify the location of the mass, intraluminal, in the wall or outside the wall. That you must learn. Once the digital examination is over, then the proctoscopy should be done. So first inspection, then digital examination. If these two things are possible, rules out the painful anal conditions, then only you should go for proctoscopy. Never do the proctoscopy initially. Proctoscopy is also performed in Sims position, which gives a detailed inspection of the distal rectum and the anal canal. This can be done in the OPD itself, and minor therapeutic procedures also can be done, like injection or banding of the hemorrhoids, or biopsy can be taken from the proctoscope. So you must learn how to pass this proctoscope. A sterilized, clean proctoscope, well lubricated one, should be introduced in the anal canal gently. Don't push it. You keep it and gently press it. As the muscle relaxes, it goes in. The direction of the proctoscope is also very important. The first 1 inch, it should be passed towards the umbilicus of the person, anteriorly directed. Pass it towards the umbilicus. That is the direction of the anal canal. Once you pass 1 inch beyond the anal canal, the proctoscope will go and strike the anterior rectal wall. It will not move further forwards. Then gently you turn the proctoscope posteriorly. Again, it will go freely into the lumen of the rectum. First 1 inch anteriorly directed, later on posteriorly directed. That is the method of passing the proctoscope. That you must see and learn in the OPD. If the proctoscopy is not informative, then you can do the sigmoidoscopy, which will examine the lower 25 centimeters of the canal bowel up to the rectosigmoid junction. This can be a rigid sigmoidoscope or flexible sigmoidoscope can be done to diagnose the rectal and colonic pathologies. So this is the proctoscope, a lighted one. Usually we do not have this attachment. You can throw the light through with the help of the torch and see inside. The outer thing is the proctospeculum. Lower one is the inner one is the obturator. The edge of the speculum will be sharp. It will cause damage to the anal lining. So to avoid this, we introduce the obturator. Entire assembly is passed into the rectum. Then you can remove the obturator and throw light through the speculum and gradually inspect the rectal mucosa and gradually retract, take out the proctoscope, and as you are coming outside, you can examine the remaining part of the bowel. Because there are various modifications of these proctoscopes. Open proctoscopes for doing the banding or injection therapy, etc. Or bivalve ones are also available. Some modification. This is the primary Kelly's proctoscope. Kelly, K-E-L-L-Y, Kelly's proctoscope. So you can also do certain physiological tests whenever you are dealing with cases of incontinence. Among this, manometry is important. Manometry tells you how much pressure the sphincters are generating in the anal canal for continence mechanism, how they are contracting. So this is the recording. When the transducer or the pressure recording bulb is in the rectum, the pressure reflects the intra-abdominal pressure. It will be only at this level. When it is pulled out gradually, when it reaches the anal canal, again the pressure goes steeply. It will be very much 60 centimeters of water. So this part of the bowel is under pressure, under continent. Once this thing comes out into the air, again the pressure drops to zero. In the rectum, it is below 10 centimeters of water, a little more than zero. In the air, it will be almost zero. So only in this part, anal canal, the pressure is very much raised. So this is the normal tracing. Pull through manometry. If the sphincter muscles are lax, this graph will be at this level only. It will not be raised. And one more investigation is endoanal ultrasonography, a modification of the ultrasound. The ultrasound transducer, the probe, is kept in the anal canal and you can do the ultrasound. So you can see the layers of the anal canal, mucosa, black one is submucosa, the sphincter muscles. And beyond the sphincter, you can see the extrasphincteric space. Here, this part, the muscle is deficient. Electrobiographic study. So the electrical impulses in the sphincter muscles are recorded and studied. This is normal. During coughing, this much of pressure rise, the electrical activity is raised, and strong voluntary squeeze reaction, you have got the electrical impulse maximum and straining the artery. So these are all the tests, advanced tests, which are done in the laboratory when you are evaluating a case of incontinence and sphincter laxity. These are not routinely done in the OPD. They require a laboratory for special purposes. So with this, we stop the class here. The regular disease of the anal canal will begin in the next class. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.